who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed. This is Isaiah 53. Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed. He grew up before him like a tender shoot, like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and familiar with suffering. Like one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he took up our infirmities and carried our sorrows. Yet we considered him stricken by God, smitten by him, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him. And by his wounds we are healed. We all like sheep have gone astray. Each of us has turned to his own way. And the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before his shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. For oppression and judgment he was taken away. And who can speak of his descendants? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was stricken. He was assigned a grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And though the Lord makes his life a guilt offering, he will see his offspring and prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. After the suffering of his soul, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their impurities. Therefore I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death, and was numbered with the transgressors. For he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows, and familiar with suffering. So Jesus, having been born of a virgin, having been born of someone who actually is the Virgin Mary, who actually has the miraculous conception of the God-child in her body, would have seemed to the rest of the world like a teenage mum. He is then humbled to death on the cross. Not from a poor family. Jesus' family were ordinary rather than terribly poor, and a carpenter would have been a reasonable profession in those days. But certainly the early part of his life, as we said, difficult. And then his death. His death on the cross would have been horrendous. To die the death of a common criminal. The creator of the universe to die the death of a common criminal. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. The Lord has made him a guilt offering. Verse 4, surely he took up our infirmities and carried our sorrows. Yet we considered him stricken by God, smitten by him, and afflicted. He took up our infirmities and our sorrows. Physical weaknesses and illness, mental weaknesses and illness, our sorrows, all the guilt you've ever felt, all the worrying you've ever done, every nervous breakdown you've ever had. Jesus took it all upon him. Yet we considered him stricken by God, smitten by him, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him. And by his wounds we are healed. Spiritually, mentally, and physically. By his wounds we are healed. We all like sheep have gone astray. Each of us has turned to his own way. The Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. So Jesus died so that we might be forgiven. He died so that we would be at peace. Like sheep, we have all wandered. And in a prison church, the prisoners used to hiss when the sex offenders came in, and the preacher said, "Don't do that, we're all sinners. There's always someone else who's worse than you. I might burgle people's houses, but at least I don't do that. I might steal cars, but at least I'm not one of those people over there and do the terrible things that they do." And we can all put ourselves above other people, no matter what we've done. There's always someone else who's worse than you. And even in a prison, there'll be that. Even in a prison, there'll be that feeling of, but at least I'm not like him. At least I don't do that. Even among criminals, you would still find that. You would find criminals who believe that if everybody was like them, the world would be a better place. Perhaps it would. Because they don't do the really terrible things other people do. And that's logical. If everybody was like me, the world would be a better place and we'd all be shoplifters or, so somehow there will be an answer. We can all justify ourselves in many ways, but we've all done wrong. I couldn't stand before God and say that I never said a word wrong or did a thing wrong, and if I had to give account for every word I've ever spoken, for every thought I've ever thought, that would be terrible. But Jesus forgives all. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed through our iniquities. And in Jesus, all is forgiven. And in Jesus, we can enter eternity with no fear of the punishment of God for anything that we did, because Christ has made peace for us.